Okay, so this is one of the sections from Chapter 2 in the Algebra 2 textbook, Polynomial Long Division. This is kind of a fun lesson. I think you guys will actually like this. We're learning how to divide polynomials and by a monomial and by a polynomial of two or more terms. And also you can use polynomial division to find factors and zeros of polynomials, especially ones that you can't factor right away using the methods that we have learned with trinomials. So remember, there are different parts of a division problem. So I'm just going to kind of have a very basic division problem example for you, if this is going to work. Okay, so let's say we have 24 divided by 6. So the 24 is called the dividend. Dividend. The 6, you know what the 6 is called? The divisor. Like what you are dividing by. The number, like the answer is, like for here it's 4. So the answer is called what? Quotient. And if there's a remainder, then it would be the remainder. Like if 24 wasn't, like if we picked 5 instead. So if it was 5 and 24, then the answer would still be 4, but you would have a remainder of what? Rudy?
8.
Both questions.
4. Yeah, so it would be 4 and 4/5. Okay, so the 4 is the remainder. Yeah. So when you write your answer, if there is a remainder, you put the answer that you get here, and then you put the remainder divided by the divisor, right? And you know that, right? Because you would need one more to get to 25, which would make it 5. So 1/5, take away 1/5, and you have 4/5. Okay, so polynomial divided by a monomial. This page is more of a warm-up, but it's easier than what we're going to be doing. So if you're just dividing by one term, then you can divide each term by that separately. So we can change this to dividing by 6m squared, divide by 6m squared, divide by 6m squared. So you don't need long division when you're dividing by a monomial. So when you divide, remember we're dividing the fractions. So if they simplify, then simplify it. So this would be 2m, and when you divide the variables, you subtract the exponents. So this would be 2m to the 4th, and then plus 3m to the 3rd, plus 5m to the 2nd. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That should make sense. Okay. For number 2, you can divide each of these terms by 10m to the 3rd. You can only do that because the denominator is a monomial. You can't divide if the denominator has more than one term. You would have to use long division, like we will do on the next page. So I'm going to do 10m, I'm going to do 50m to the 4th divided by 10m to the 3rd, so that'd be 5m to the 1st power, and then minus 30 divided by 10 is 3, and then there's no more m because they would cancel out, and then plus 2, but then you have m up here, but then 3m's up here, so that'd be 2 divided by m squared. That's how you would write that. You wouldn't write 2m to the -2nd because we don't put negative exponents in our final answers. Just like you practice in your Get More Math. Okay, this one is also -3p to the 3rd. So all of these numbers, all these terms are negative, and then you're dividing by a negative, so your answer is all going to be positive. So 8p over 3, or 8/3 p, and then plus 2, because the p's would cancel, and then plus 4p to the second, because p to the fifth divided by p to the third is p to the second. The only thing you should do next is put it in standard form. So which term would go first if it was in standard form? Sammy? Yes. So write 4p squared plus 8/3 p plus 2. That is a quadratic trinomial. Okay. And then the last one, you have two variables, x and y. So 45 over 15 would be 3. And then the x's would be x squared. What would the y be? Rudy?
Y squared.
Yes, y squared. And then plus 30 over 15 is 2. What happens to the x's and y's? Yeah, they cancel out. And then minus. Oh, wait, sorry. No, they don't cancel out. Sorry. They do not cancel out. It's 2y. Because this is y squared and this is y. The last one, they cancel out. Because you have x squared y, x squared y. So that's minus 4. Okay, next page is the fun part. So some of you, like you just said, I forget how to do long division. So we're going to do a practice problem of long division. Okay. So, no, that's not the homework. The homework is in another packet, which I'll hand out to you. So first you take the dividend and you put that under the division sign. So 3, 2, 5, 7. Remember, this is not a square root. I know I'm always tempted to make a square root, but it's not. It's different. It doesn't have the little hat thingy. I don't know what you call that. And then the arrow, and then you put the divisor. Okay, so you take the first, since this is 2 digits, you'll take your first 2, and you figure out how many times 12 can go into 32. Twice. So you put a 2 on top of the 2, and then you multiply 2 and 12 together and write the answer below the 32. So that'd be 24. And then long division uses subtraction. Okay, so maybe make a note. So we're subtracting 32 minus 24, which is 8. And then you bring down the 5. How many times can 12 go into 85? Rudy?
7.
Yes, 7. And then you multiply, you put the 7 on top of the 5. Then you multiply 7 and 12 together, and that is 84. And then you subtract those, and you get 1. You bring down the 7. How many times does 12 go into 17? Once. So the answer is, oh wait, no, I'm not done yet here. So I multiply those, and I get 12, subtract, and you get 5. There's nothing left, so that means that 5 would be the remainder. You could go into decimals, but we're not going to do that because we can't write polynomial decimals. So the final answer would be 271 and 5/12. Or if you want, you can convert 5/12 into a decimal and put it as a decimal. Okay. So here is the way polynomial long division works. So we're going to take our first term of, so right now we're dividing this trinomial by this binomial, and you take the first term of what you're dividing, of the divisor, and you divide it with the first term in the dividend. So 3x squared divided by x is what? 3x. So we are going to put 3x up here. So it's kind of like, how many times does x go into 3x squared? So it'd be 3, or how many times does, Yeah, x going to 3x squared. So that's 3x. And then you take 3x squared and multiply it with x, and you get 3x squared minus 21x. And then you subtract those. So you see this, that these first two should always cancel, okay? So they do, and then you get negative 17 minus negative 21. Well, that's going to turn into plus a positive, so that would be 4x. And then you bring down the negative 25. Michael, how did we get? Okay, maybe I'll go back. Okay, let me. Okay, remember how with regular division you take the 2 and you multiply it with the 12? So we have to take the 3 and multiply it with the x minus 7. So you have to imagine in your head that you're doing this. And you would distribute. So you multiply the 3x by both terms. So 3x squared minus 21x, and then subtract them. And like you could do this with more like a polynomial with more than 2 terms. You would just have to multiply that number by 3 terms. And that's where you get the 4x from, because negative 17 minus negative 21 is 4, because that becomes minus plus a positive. And then you bring down the negative 25. Okay, then you see how many times does x go into 4x? Well, 4 times. Or you divide 4x by 4. You could also ask yourself, what times x would give me 4x? So that'd be 4. So you write plus 4 at the top. And then you multiply the 4 with x minus 7. So that would be 4x minus 28. Once again, your first terms should cancel out, and then you will just get 28 minus negative 25 minus negative 28, which is 3. So the answer is 3x plus 4, but we have a remainder. So we have to write that as plus 3 divided by the divisor x minus 7. Just like up here, how we wrote 271 and 5/12, we write our answer and means plus 3 over x minus 7. That's the answer. Okay, so here's what this next part means. The next part, I'm going to scoot this over if I can. No, it won't let me. Just going to scoot it over piece by piece. Okay, so the next part means if I have 3x squared minus 17x minus 25, and I divide it by x minus 7, so write this down, that is equal to that. Do you agree with me? So if I have my dividend divided by the divisor, that is now equal to this. So to get my dividend by itself, I can multiply both sides of the equation by x minus 7. So if I multiply this side by x minus 7, we would multiply 3x plus 4 times x minus 7. And if I multiply the x minus 7 by this part of the answer, the x minus 7s will cancel out, and I just get plus 3. So now 3x squared minus 17x minus 25 is equal to that. What do you notice about that? It's factored. There are factors with a remainder. So that means this can be factored as x minus 7 times 3x plus 4, but there's a remainder. So it can't be factored like we factor, because we only factor when the remainder is what? 0, if there's no remainder. But this shows that you can factor when there is a remainder, and you would just have to know one of the factors. So don't worry too much about that right now. That's going to kind of evolve from today and tomorrow as we talk about how we can use these as factors.
There's not a quiz over this, right?
No. Okay. But that's what that next thing means. So the division algorithm just means that your divisor, or not divisor, so your dividend is equal to d of x, which is your quotient. Sorry, that would be q of x, obviously, because it's q. Your divisor times your quotient plus the remainder. Dividend. It's not dividend. It's dividend. Sorry. So your dividend is equal to divisor times quotient plus the remainder. But what we're going to do is the same exact things. We're just going to keep practicing dividing and writing the answer like the first thing we did. Okay? So here we're going to set it up as a division problem like the other one, but we have to write it in standard form. So we're going to put the 4x to the third first minus 4x squared plus 5x minus 8. And then you put the divisor right there. Just going to move this down a little bit. Okay. So you take your first term in the dividend and divide it by the first term in the divisor. So you take this, divide it by that. You get 2x squared. So you're going to write 2x squared above where there's another x squared term. It's kind of like place value when you have regular long division with just regular numbers. You put it above the place value. And then you multiply that by 2x minus 1. So you would get 4x to the third minus 2x squared. And then you subtract those. Just be careful when you subtract that if you're subtracting a negative, that turned it into positive. So this would be negative 2x squared. Because it's negative 4x squared plus 2x squared. Bring down the plus 5x. If you have a question, raise your hand. You have a question about this part? Okay, look, negative 4x squared minus negative 2x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 4 minus negative 2. Yes. Okay, next I divide this by 2x. So negative 2x squared divided by 2x would give me minus 1x. Or you think, what would I have to multiply 2x by to get negative 2x squared? Just negative x. And then I multiply the negative x by 2x minus 1. So that's negative 2x squared minus, actually plus x. Because it's negative x times negative 1. Yes, they should be the same. Because you want them to cancel. Yes. Okay, so what would you get when you subtract those? No, because you're subtracting. 4x. How do you get the what? This x? Because remember how we had this? I have to multiply it by these two terms. So negative x times negative 1. Maybe it would be helpful if I stood up here.
Oh no, I get it.
Okay, I'm just going to stand up here anyways. And then you bring down the negative 8. So minus 8. And then what would our next number in the quotient be? 2x. Just 2. Because if I put a 2x, then it'd be 4x squared. But I only want it to be 4x. So that'd be 4x minus 2. And then this becomes minus plus a positive, so negative 6. So final answer is 2x squared minus x plus 2, running out of room, minus 6 over 2x minus 1. You see how this is negative? You can put plus and then negative 6, or you can just put minus here and then just regular 6. Make sense? Okay, we have 2 more. Yes. 6 questions. Just like this. Dagnabbit. Okay, I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay. So for number 4, we have 3x squared and 3x. So you would put x, because 3x squared divided by 3x is x, and then you do x times 3x, and that's 3x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Then you subtract them, and you get 15x. Bring down the 10. So if this is 15x and this is 3x, then it goes into it 5 times, so plus 5. And then I multiply 5 with my divisor here, so that would give us 15x plus 10. And then if I subtract those, we get 0. Oh. So that means the answer is x plus 5, which also means that you could factor this as 3x plus 2 times x plus 5. So it's like another version of AC method, but you would have to know what this is first, I guess. So
I don't even know what AC, how to do AC.
do
we have a quiz on it?
No.
Then I don't know either. I know all the questions. I wasn't here today that we did AC.
Okay, so what do you notice about number 5?
It's like divided under it. Denominator, numerator.
What is missing in number 5? Rudy? An x squared term. So that means when we write our divisor, we're going to have to put plus 0x squared as a placeholder. So whenever you do your division, make sure that if it doesn't have all of the terms, you put a placeholder in.
This is so fun.
Yes. Yes, it has to be 0.
Why do we need it? Just don't put it if it's like 0.
Because so watch. You see, if I have 4x cubed and I divide that by x, we would get 4x squared. And I have to have somewhere to put it above. So you have to have the x squared there. And then I multiply 4x squared by these two terms. So that'd be 4x to the third plus 4x squared. So you see why we need that 0x squared there? And then you subtract, so that means that would give us negative 4x squared, because you're doing 0 minus 4.
And then
Drop down the negative 3x. So negative 4x squared divided by x is minus 4x. And then I multiply 4x by x, and that's negative 4x squared. And then this is minus 4x. Negative 4x times 1 is minus 4x. Okay, so we're subtracting these two. What do you get when you subtract them? Raise your hand. Mason, just x, right? Not negative x. And then you bring down the negative 2.
Is that minus 4x?
Yeah. This is minus 4x. Okay, so how many times does x go into x? Once. So you write plus 1 at the top. And then you multiply 1 with that, and you get x plus 1. So when you subtract those, you get what? -3. So that means we have a remainder. So the answer is 4x squared minus 4x plus 1, and then minus 3 over x plus 1. The next page is not the homework. That's tomorrow's notes. So I will pass out the homework. And look, you get 10 minutes to get started.